Hello children, welcome you all. Welcome back again. Uh, what we are going to read in this video? We are going to read in this video about production and employment. The chapter from 10th class, part A. Part 1 as it was completed and the video was presented, and this is the video of production and employment part 2. So in this, we begin with this topic of changes in the importance of sectors, value of goods and services, and employment of the people. So far we have come to know how the size of GDP has increased over the years. In the part 1 video, we have studied about how far the GDP has increased over the years and more goods and services were produced. And it is also essential to know how this increase has taken place and what kind of activities contributed to this growth of GDP. It has been noted that many of the now developed countries had agriculture and allied activities as the most important contributor for the GDP during the initial stages of development. Any country, you take the example of any country, whatever may be the developed countries, all these developed countries had agriculture and allied activities as the most important contributor of GDP in the initial stages of their development. Any country, whatever may be the developed country, we think. Now, as the methods of farming change and agriculture sector began to develop or prosper, it produced much more food which was available to the people than before. And because of which what happened, many people could now take up other activities as essential food requirements were met by the other producers. As the farming changed, the method of farming changed because of science and technology, agriculture sector began to develop and prosper. And now it produced more food for the people than before. And because of the availability of the food, now many people could now take up other activities as essential requirements were met by other producers. And there were increasing number of craft persons and traders because of this. Buying and selling activities increased many times. Further increasing the demand for goods and services also has taken place. Besides, the rulers employed large number of people as administrators and the army personnel, etc. And however, at this stage, in overall context, most of the goods produced were from agriculture only and related sectors only. And most people were employed in this sector. New methods of manufacturing were introduced, science and technology was introduced. So what happened here? Factories came into existence and they started expanding over the regions. Those people earlier who had to work on the farmlands now began to work in the factories in large numbers. Many factories came up into existence, and because of which what happened, a lot of employment opportunities were available. So many people who left from the rural areas came to the cities and towns and came to the areas of factories and industries. Now they got huge amounts of work for them. People began to use many more goods. There was a mass production by the factories in such a way that low rates were applied for these goods and goods reached all the parts of the markets all over the world. People were able to get everything here. Their income increased. They started buying more things. More things were produced, manufactured in the industries and factories. And these goods were reaching all the parts of the world, every part of the world. For these countries, industrial production gradually became the most important sector. For these countries, wherever the industrialization has taken place, the industrial production became the most important sector, both in the total production of the goods and services and also in terms of employment of the people. The countries where industrialization has taken place, the industrial sector became most important here now. Why? Because the production increased for goods and also people got employment here. People were getting new opportunities of employment here. However, over the time, a shift took place. From the primary sector to the industrial sector. This means that the importance of these sectors has changed. the shift from agriculture sector to the industrial sector. The importance of agriculture sector started to decrease here, and the importance of industrial sector, that is the secondary sector, started to increase. The industrial sector became the most dominant sector, and the importance of agriculture sector both for employment and production started to decline or decrease. In the past 50 years, there has been a further shift, a changeover from industry to the service sector for developed countries. As the shift over has taken place from agriculture to industry, now in the past 50 years, there has been a shift from industrial sector to the service sector. The service sector has become now the most important sector in terms of total production. Service sector started gaining prominence and its importance started to increase from here onwards. Most of the working people have also made a shift and are now employed in the service sector, and most production activities are those of services of goods manufactured here. The contribution of various activities of GDP has been presented for 2 financial years, that is 1973-74 and 2013 and 2014. Now the circle or the pie diagram represents the GDP in the given year. GDP is made up of production from 3 sectors, that is agriculture sector, industry, that is secondary sector, and the service sector. Services in turn are seen to comprise of these 3 types. Services in turn are seen to comprise of 3 types. What do services comprise of? First one, the community, social and personal services, community services, social services and personal services. What comes under it? The public administration, the defense of the country, education of the country, health, veterinary services, other activities like media, library, archives, museums and other cultural activities. Now what is the second one? Second one is finance, insurance and real estate. What comes under this? The services of banks, post office saving services, non-bank institutions, financial companies, life insurance and general insurance companies, services of brokers and real estate companies. The third one which comes here is trade, hotels, transport and communication. All these 3 types of services which comprise in the tertiary sector are in the service sector. Now see the diagram, pie diagram here. 1973-74 and 2015 and 2016. Now see the share of different sectors in gross domestic product. Graph 2, share of different sectors in gross domestic product 1973-74, 2015 and 2016. Now you see here various colors are mentioned, that is the green one is indicated as agriculture, the pink one is indicated as industry, the blue color is indicated as trade, hotels, transport and communication, yellow color is indicated as finance, insurance and real estate, and the light blue color is indicated as community, social and personal services. Now if you see this pie diagram, here 43% is coming from agriculture, 22% from industry, 15% from trade, hotel, transport and communication, 12% is coming from community, social and personal, and 8% is coming from finance and real estate. Now if you see here 2015 and 2016, there is a shift from this side to that side. What is happening here? You see 22% is now coming from finance, insurance and real estate. 22% is coming from finance, insurance and real estate. That means service sector prominence has taken place. 12% is coming from community, social and personal services. 19% is coming from agriculture. Earlier here 43% was coming from agriculture. Now 19% is coming from agriculture, and 28% that is industry. Earlier it was 22%, now it is 28% which is coming from industry, and 19% is coming from trade, hotels, transport and communication. Now there is a total shift from agriculture, that is primary sector, towards service sector and the secondary sector, which is industry and factories. During the last 43 years period, the output share of the agriculture sector has fallen drastically. Now if you can see this diagram, earlier agriculture percentage was 43 percentage, now which has come down to 19 percentage. Now what it is saying, during the last 43 years period, the output share of the agriculture sector has fallen drastically. There was a small increase in the share of industrial output in GDP, but in contrast to this, there is a tremendous increase in the share of service sectors. 2 out of 3 subsectors of service activities have expanded. If you see this diagram, this pie chart, earlier agriculture was dominating. During the last 43 years, the output share of agriculture sector has fallen drastically. And there was a small increase in the share of industrial output in GDP. But in contrast to agriculture and industry, there has been a tremendous increase in the share of service sector. Employment. If you can see the next topic, employment, the working life in India. The gross domestic product of a country has a close relationship with the total number of working people in that country. Gross domestic product, which has a close relationship with the total number of people working in that 3 sectors of a country. In every country, as population increases, it is essential for that country to provide opportunities for those who are looking for work. Every country, just like India, when population starts to increase, the country's government or the country's responsibility increases to provide them opportunities for those people who are looking for the work. Unless they get jobs, how can you think that they can fulfill their needs and their requirements? So, providing opportunities to get employment to these people is very necessary for a nation. According to the census of India, 2011, out of 1,210 million persons in India, 460 people are workers. That is, people engaged in some productive activities. Out of 1,210 million persons in India, 460 millions of people are workers. That is, people engaged in some or the other productive activities. Now the following table shows some basic facts about the workers in India. You see here the table, distribution of workers in India in the year 2012-2013, that is in percentage. Now agriculture sector, industrial sector, service sector, the total. Places of residence, that is, first one is rural, second one is urban, male and female and all the workers. Now if you see agriculture, place of work is rural, 67% of people are indulging in agricultural sector. Only 9% of the people are in the urban sector who are doing agriculture. Now if you go to industrial sector, 16% of the people are indulging in industrial sector, that is secondary sector in rural areas. 31% of the people who are coming from urban areas are having their work activities, are having their livelihood, are earning their livelihood from secondary sector. Now the service sector, if you see, rural people, they are only 17% in the service sector, and a tremendous number here you see, 60% of the people are having their livelihood, are getting their livelihood from service sector. Males, 44% of the people are getting their livelihood from primary sector, that is agriculture. 63% of the females are getting their livelihood from agriculture. 26% of the people getting employment are getting their livelihood from industrial sector. 20% of the people getting livelihood or employment from industrial sector. 30% of the people, males, that is, they are getting their livelihood from service sector, and 17% of the people they are getting, that is, 17% of the females are getting livelihood from the service sector. All the workers, if you take into consideration, that is, from agricultural sector, 49% of the people are getting their livelihood and employment, 24% of the people are getting their livelihood and employment from industrial or secondary sector, and 27% of the people are getting their livelihood and employment from service sector. Now this table shows us that the distribution of workers in India in the year 2012-2013, the percentage of people who are getting their livelihood and employment from primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Unfortunately in India, while there has been a change in the share of 3 sectors, we have seen over the years there has been a change in the output of three various sectors in GDP. But a similar shift has not taken place in employment. There has been a change in output, but similar change has not taken place in terms of employment, providing employment. Now if you see graph 3, that shows the share of employment in three sectors in 1973, 74 and 2015, 2016. What we have understood earlier here, that the graph which is showing the employment share in the year 1973, 74 and 2015, 2016. But what it is saying, even till today also, the agriculture sector continues to be the largest employer even now. Why didn't the employment shift out of agriculture sector totally? Because not enough jobs have been created in the service sector and in the secondary sector. More than half of the workers in the country are still working in agriculture sector, producing only 1/6 of the GDP. More than half of the workers in the country are having their livelihood, are getting their livelihood and employment from agriculture sector, but half of these people from the country are only producing 1/6 of the GDP for the country. In contrast to this, if you can see, the industry and the service sector produces 3/4 of the GDP, whereas the employment is only about half the portion of the workers. Agriculture, more people are getting their employment from agriculture and getting their livelihood, but they are producing only 1/6 of the GDP. But in industrial sector, 3/4 of the GDP is produced. Service sector and industrial sector, 3/4 of the GDP is produced, where only half the portion of the workers are getting their livelihood and employment from this. Does this mean that the workers in agriculture are not producing as much as they could? Yes, the workers, they are not producing as much as they could. What is happening here? It means that there are more people employed in agricultural sector, may not be fully occupied. It means that there are more people in agriculture, but everyone may not be fully occupied. So even if a few people move out of the production, will not be affecting the agriculture there. In this way, more number of the people are engaged than required in the agriculture. This is what called as disguised unemployment. See here, in agriculture, more people are doing their work. More people are engaged here. They are not fully getting their work. They are not fully occupied for their work. So even if some people are removed from here, it is not going to affect the agriculture or the production here. It means that more number of people are engaged here than required in the agriculture. This is what we call it as disguised unemployment. Take the example of a small farmer Gayatri here, who owns about 2 hectares of unirrigated land dependent only on rain and growing crops like jawar and red gram. Her all the family members, 5 to 5 all family members are just working in this small piece of land throughout the year. They have nowhere to go for the work. You will see here that everyone is working. None remains idle. But the actual fact is that their labor work is getting divided. This is situation of people who are underemployed, where people are apparently working, but all of them are made to work less than their potential. This kind of unemployment is hidden. This kind of underemployment is hidden in contrast to someone who does not have a job and is clearly visible as unemployed. Supposing a landlord hires 1 or 2 members of the family to work there, Gayatri's family is now able to earn some more extra income through the wages. You do not need 5 people to look after this small plot. 2 people moving out of that does not going to affect the production of this farm. It will be better for them so that they can get more income. In the above example, 2 people may be moving to work in a factory or trade. Once again, the earnings of the family will increase here, and they would also continue to produce as much as from their land. If 2 people are removed from that farmland, they are taken to a factory and made to work there. They can earn some extra income, but the production in the agricultural land is not going to be affected. Only if 3 people are left out there, even those people, if they work for full, they even can make the production there. There are lakhs of farmers like Gayatri in India. This means that even if several people from the agricultural sector are provided with proper work somewhere else, agricultural production is not going to suffer. The incomes of the people who take up other activities, that will increase. The income of their family will increase here, even if they are taken out from that agriculture sector. This underemployment can also happen in other sectors. For example, there are thousands of casual workers in the service sector in urban areas who search for daily employment. They are employed as painters, plumbers, repair persons and other doings odd jobs. Many of them don't find work even every day. Now, similarly we see other people of service sector on the streets pushing a cart or selling something, where they may spend the whole day, but every person is earning very little. They are doing this work because they do not have better opportunities. If you see, many people are on the roads. Many people are into the service sector. Many people are into the activities like street pushing cart, selling something on the road. They may be spending their whole day to earn their livelihood, a little amount of livelihood. They are doing this work because they don't have enough opportunities or better opportunities of earning. Sectorial shares of employment. Agriculture, 74% of the people are getting their employment. Industry, only 11% of the people are getting their share. Service sector, 15% of the people are getting their share. That is in the year 1973-74. In the year 1973-74, the sectorial shares of employment. Share of employment from agriculture was 74% from agriculture. From industry it was only 11%. And from service sector it was 15%. Now by the time we reach 2015 and 2016, the share of employment from agriculture has decreased from 74% to 47%. And the industrial sector share of employment has increased from 11% to 22%. And the share of employment from service sector has increased from 15% in the year 1973-74. By the time 2015-2016, it has increased to 31%. So there is a shift of employment percentage from agricultural sector to service sector and industrial sector. Now another graph, that is another image, shows that share of three sectors in GDP. Now by the time 1973-74, the share of GDP from agricultural sector was 43%. Industrial sector was giving its share as 22% for GDP. Service sector was giving its share as 35% for GDP. Now by the time 2015 and 16, the share of various sectors in GDP also has changed. Now you see, service sector has increased its share from 35% to 53% in the year 2015-2016. And the agricultural share, which was earlier 43%, now it has decreased to 19%. The industrial sector share, which was 22%, now it has slightly increased up to 28%. The service sector has grown. All service sector activities are not growing equally well. We have seen by seeing the images that service sector is increasing. It is growing well. But the service sector activities are not growing equally well. Service sector in India employs many different kinds of people. At one end, there are a limited number of services that are employing highly skilled people and educated workers. And at the other end, there are a large number of workers who are engaged in services such as small shopkeepers, repair persons, transport persons, etc. These people barely manage to earn their livelihood. These people barely manage to earn their livelihood. Yet they are doing full work, but they are unable to get high incomes here. No alternative opportunities are there for them, as there is no work available to them. Hence, only a part of this sector is growing in its importance. Many people who are just in this sector, but unable to earn proper livelihood, unable to earn high income, Why? Because there are no proper opportunities for them to earn high income. Only skilled labor and only educated people are able to get enough livelihood and employment from this sector. Another topic from this lesson is organized and unorganized sector of employment in India. So far, we have seen how different sectors have contributed to the gross domestic product of India and also realized the comparative importance of these three sectors. How agriculture sector dominance has decreased and service sector dominance has increased over the time. This helps us to analyze the shift that has taken place or don't take place for both production and employment. For a country like India, we don't see substantial shift in employment, and to explore this, we use method of classification focusing on the nature of employment. The classification discussed below emphasizes the problems of employment and the associated conditions of work even more starkly. People working in organized sector and unorganized sector. Take one example of Narsima. Narsima, who works in a government office, he attends his office by 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and he uses his motorbike to travel from his house to the office, which is about 5 kilometers away from his home. He gets his salary regularly and at the end of every month, deposited into his bank account. And in addition to the salary, he also gets provident fund as per the rules and regulations which are drawn by the government. He also gets medical leave and other allowances. Narsima does not go to the office on Sundays. This is a paid holiday for him. When he joined the work, an appointment letter was given to him with terms and conditions of work. Another example of Rajeshwari. Rajeshwari is working as a construction worker. She does go to the work at 7 a.m. and returns home by 7 p.m. She travels for about 8 to 10 kilometers daily for her work and she travels to her work by bus. Construction workers get 1 hour lunch break and from 1 to 2 p.m. she gets work only for 10 to 12 days in a month. On the remaining days, she has no work and she does not go to work as she is not going to get any kind of wages. She gets rupees 150 per day as wages and mostly she is paid the wage on the same day on the spot. But if she is working on the same spot for 3 to 4 days, the wages are given after the completion of the work. She gets more work from February to June and July to January it is unseasonal for her. And Rajeshwari is a worker in unorganized sector. Narsima and Rajeshwari are illustrative examples of workers who are employed in organized sector and unorganized sector respectively. Do you see the differences in their work conditions and work? The distinction between the organized and unorganized sector help us to understand the working conditions and situations and the wages received by the people, majority of the workers in the country. 92% of the workers in India are found in unorganized sector and 8% of the people who are getting enough work in the organized sector. Organized sector covers those enterprises or places of work where the terms of employment are regular and therefore people have assured work here. They are registered by the government and have to follow its rules and regulations which are given in various laws such as Factory Acts, Minimum Wages Acts, Shops and Establishment Acts. It is called organized sector because it has some formal processes and procedures. Workers in the organized sector enjoy security of employment. They are expected to work only for a fixed number of hours. If they work more, they are to be paid overtime by the employer. They also get several other benefits from the employers. They get paid leave, payment during the holidays, provident fund for them, and they are supposed to get medical benefits under the law. The employer has to ensure facilities like drinking water and safe working environment. And when they retire, many of these workers get pensions as well. People who work in the government or with the companies or large establishments are all in the organized sector. The unorganized sector, in this case, is characterized by small and scattered units which have remained largely outside the control of the government. There are rules and regulations for these also, but not followed or enforced. Jobs here are low paid and not regular. There is no guarantee of job. There is no provision for overtime, no provision for paid leave, no provision of holidays, leave due to sickness, etc. Employment is not secure here. People can be asked to leave without any reason. When there is less work during some time, or some unseasoned, some people may be asked to leave. A lot also depends on the whims of the employer or the changes in the market situations. Besides the above mentioned categories, this sector indulges a number of people who are employed on their own, that is self-employed people. Almost half the workers are self-employed. You would find them everywhere doing small jobs such as selling in the streets, doing repair works or working as hawkers. Similarly, farmers are largely self-employed and also hire laborers as and when they are in requirement. The organized sector offers jobs for these people, mostly sought after, but the employment opportunities in the organized sector have been expanding very slowly. As a result, a large number of the workers are forced to enter the unorganized sector jobs, which pay a very low salary for these people. They are often exploited and not paid according to their work, fair wages. Their earnings are low and not regular. When workers lose their job in the organized sector, they are forced to take up jobs in unorganized sector with low earnings. Besides the need for more work, there is also a need for protection and support for these people in the unorganized sector. Who are these vulnerable people who needs protection? In the rural areas, the unorganized sector mostly comprises of landless agricultural labor, small and marginal farmers, sharecroppers and artisans such as weavers, blacksmiths, carpenters and goldsmiths. These are the people who are vulnerable, who are to be needed to provided with protection. Nearly 80% of the people in rural areas or rural households in India are in small and marginal farmer category. These farmers need to be supported through adequate facilities for timely delivery of seeds, agricultural inputs, credit, storage facilities and market outlets. As farm laborers, they require adequate work and payment of minimum wages. There is no support for these people. In the urban areas, unorganized sector people mostly comprise of workers in small scale industry, that is casual workers in the construction, trade and transport, etc. and those who work as street vendors, headload workers, garment makers and rag pickers. Small scale industry also needs government support for the procuring raw material and marketing of output. The casual workers in both rural and urban areas need to be protected. All these things should be provided to these people who are working in unorganized sector. We also find that majority of the workers from scheduled caste, tribes and backward communities find themselves in the unorganized sector as they don't get many opportunities in the organized sector. It is worse if one is a woman from these communities. Besides getting the irregular and low paid work, these workers also face social discrimination. Protection and support to the unorganized sector workers is thus very necessary for both economic and social development of any nation. Let us now examine both the production of goods and services and employment from these sectors. The unorganized sector also contributes to the GDP. During the 2004-2005 year, the unorganized sector workers who are accounting for 92% of all the workers that contribute half of the all production. See, 92% of all the workers that contributed half of all the production in the GDP of the country. On the other hand, only 8% of the people had a decent employment but contributed for 50% of the production of goods and services. The products and services of these companies find a market, but they support a very small section of the population with privileged jobs. This is an extremely unequal situation. The rest find only insecure, low-paying jobs, are all self-employed with low earnings or remain underemployed. Contribution of the organized and unorganized sector in employment and in GDP. Organized sector employment is 8%, unorganized sector employment is 92%. But in terms of GDP, even though organized, that is 8% of the people, 8% of the people are employed in organized sector, but they are providing 50% to the GDP. 92% of the people who are in unorganized sector, but the GDP, the share of GDP which is coming from unorganized sector is also 50%. Then, how to create more and better conditions of employment? By seeing this, by studying after all this, how to create a more and better conditions of employment. A large number of the people you see should have found a decent employment in the industry and services, but this has not taken place. Production in industry and service has increased without a similar increase in the employment. No doubt production of goods and services is increasing in industry and service sector, but employment is not increasing with equal to that. When we look at the people, how they are employed, we find that most people are in the unorganized sector only, barely able to find work. The increase in the production is benefiting only about 8% of the workers. Hence, in what ways can one increase employment for all people? Let us now look at some of them. Take the case of Gayatri with her 2 hectares of plot of unirrigated land. The government can spend some money or banks can provide a loan to construct a well for her family to irrigate the land. Gayatri will then be able to irrigate her land and take out a second crop, wheat during the Rabi season. And let us suppose that 1 hectare of wheat can provide employment to 2 people of 50 days, including sowing, watering, fertilizer, application and harvesting. So 2 more people of the family can employ in her own field. Now suppose many small dams are constructed and canals are dug to irrigate many lands. Now suppose many small dams are constructed and canals are dug to irrigate many such farms. This could lead to a lot of employment generation in the agriculture sector, itself reducing the problem of unemployment. Now suppose Gayatri and other farmers produce much more than before, they would also need to sell some of this. For this, they may be required to have transport their products to nearby town. If the government invests some money in transportation and storage of the crops, or make better rural roads, or so that mini trucks can reach everywhere, several farmers like Gayatri who have now access to water can continue to grow and sell the crops, and this activity can provide productive employment to not just farmers but also to other such more people who are just indulging in the service activities like transportation and trade. Gayatri's need is not confined to water alone. To cultivate the land, she also needs better seeds, fertilizers, agricultural equipment and pump sets to draw water. Being a poor farmer, she cannot afford many of these. So she will be having to borrow the money from money lenders or the bank. Money lenders, they will be giving the money for a high rate of interest. So banks should come forward to provide loan to persons like Gayatri. If local banks come forward to give her credit at reasonable rates of interest, now she will be able to buy all these things in time and cultivate her land. This means that along with water, we also need to provide cheap agricultural credit to the farmers for farming to improve in India. Another way by which we can tackle this problem is to identify and promote and locate industries and services in semi-rural areas where a large number of the people may be employed. What it is saying? Another way by which we can tackle this problem is to identify, promote and locate industries and services in semi-rural areas where a large number of people may be employed. For instance, many farmers decide to grow millets and other cereals. Setting up a flour mill to procure and process these and sell in the cities is one such example. So if government provides all these things, more and more people can earn money. Opening a cold storage could give an opportunity to farmers to store their products like chilies and onions and sell them when the price is good so that they can earn some money. In villages nearby forest areas, we can start honey collection centers where people can come and sell wild honey in these areas. It is also possible to set up industries that process vegetables and agricultural products like tomatoes, chilies, mango, rice, red gram, fruits which can be sold in outside the markets. This will provide employment in industries located in semi-rural areas and not necessarily in large urban areas. Today, we not only have to generate new employment opportunities, but also train many workers to work efficiently and with machines, to work efficiently and with the machines. We should invest in many industries in both rural areas and semi-urban areas so that we are able to produce many more goods and services